none of us is asking, why is there rape happening? You know, none of us is asking what pushed this man to want to like take this person's body by force. That is where the conversation should be.
Yes.
The conversation should not be ati unajua siku hizi wanawake wanapenda vitu za bure. And I ask men, sisi wenyewe wangapi wetu tunapenda pombe ya bure?
Wengi.
Wangapi wetu tunakunywa hiyo pombe ya bure?
Wengi.
Do the men who buy us those pombes beat us?
No.
Do they kill us because we said no to something? Do they batter our bodies? You know?
I just want to tell you that case is so personal to me. I talk about it so much because I feel like we owe T justice. Forget about the people I feel he has violated. We have failed this boy himself. Every time I wake up every day and I'm sorry. And I think about him. And I think about the fact that the mother wants to kill this boy. And I cannot remove this boy from his home because in Kenya it is child trafficking. And I've reported it to relevant authorities and there is nothing I can do. And this woman texts me every day and ananiambia, Mama Aline, nisaidie. And I'm not able to help him. This is what your silence, and when you shame people and when you abuse people, you are complicit in doing things like this. Hello and a warm welcome to Tuko Talks. My name is Lynn Gugi. Now, today's conversation must and should happen. I am sure you have all seen the trending hashtag on Twitter, Justice for Vesh, dedicated to Velvin Nyungari, the 24-year-old who was brutally murdered. And the most surprising thing in this story is that some people are saying she died in line of duty. No one is to blame. And the big question today I'm going to be asking is, have we normalized and condoned the rape culture in Kenya? And to help me zero in on this conversation are these two wonderful people who are also doing a lot in our community. And so without further ado, please allow me to let them introduce themselves. Hello, hello.
Hi.
How are you?
We're good.
Please introduce yourself.
My name is Njeri Wamegwe.
Yeah.
I run an organization known as Usikimia. Usikimia is an organization that deals with sexual and gender-based violence, which is very rampant in Kenya, as you can clearly see.
Yeah.
We look at issues that face women, children, and men within the scope of sexual violence, that is rape, molestation, defilement for children, rape for men, rape for women, domestic violence, intimate partner violence. Yes.
All right.
Yeah, my name is Onyango Otieno. I am a writer and I operate a safe space for sexually abused boys and men.
Yeah.
And I'm also a mental health advocate.
And thank you so much, guys, for coming on the show, because both of you are doing an incredible job in the society. Onyango, maybe if you could take us a bit, talk to us a bit about your story so that our audience can understand why we needed you here, and also for our audience to understand that rape does not only happen to women, it also happens to men. Yeah.
Oh, so in the context of that story, I happened to be raped when I was 20 years old by our house manager, or if you like, house help. And she was somebody who manipulated me into it. So at the time, I didn't even think it was violation until 10 years later, when I was going through therapy. Then I realized something bad happened to me back there that explained a lot about what, you know, how like my healing process manifested in my life. So I started talking about it. And of course, there was a huge backlash because I put it up online. I tell a lot of my stories online. And much as I did receive a lot of support from both men and women, I underwent a lot of cyberbullying, mostly from men who were saying things like, there's no way a man can be raped by a woman. I must have enjoyed it. I'm just looking for clout. And how come I'm a man who couldn't defend himself? So, yeah.
So yeah, and Jerry, I remember when I called you, you told me, Lynn, we have to talk about victim blaming. And he just said he was cyberbullied. People don't even believe men can be raped. Let me first ask, before we even continue, can you define rape for us?
Rape is the act of sex without consent. That's just it.
What's consent?
Consent is agreeing to have sex with a person, to be intimate with a person. And consent can be withdrawn at any time. If, let's say, we agree, you're my boyfriend and we are making love, and at a point I feel uncomfortable for whatever reason, and I tell you no. If you go ahead and penetrate, that's rape, because I withdrew my consent.
Yes.
If I am a woman and the man is making love to me and the man tells me, Manzi, I don't feel like doing this, and I insist, maybe it's even inside of me and maybe I grip him, that's still rape.
Yeah.
So rape is not just what we think, that it is in the dark alleys where somebody is grabbed and then anashikwa, then they are raped. That's not just the only definition of rape. Rape encompasses from our marriages.
Yes.
There's a lot of marital rape, because people think that because you are married, that person owes you sex. And to all the way to the streets, to these little children that you're seeing getting molested and assaulted, and all the way to now a situation like this. And I'm going to say it like, in Kenya, most, especially in urban areas, most boys are actually introduced to the world of sex by their house helps and not by consent. It is not consensual. It is, you find the house help starts grabbing the little boy, maybe little teenagers and even grown men.
Yes.
And they start, making it feel like, and the act is supposed to make you feel good, but the boy never consented to it. It is coercion.
It is coercion.
And again, coerced sex
is
rape.
It's rape.
It's always rape.
Yeah. Onyango, just to make it clear to our audience, you were raped by a woman.
Yes.
So when you go online and you tell people, I was raped by a woman, and they start making fun of you and asking you why you could not protect yourself, talk to me about that.
Well, the idea is more than 95% of perpetrators of rape are men. So society cannot imagine the idealized perpetrator being a victim. So being that I look like a man, I am a man, I am idealized as a perpetrator, whether I am a good person or a bad person, right? So if I come out with a story that this happened to me, it's very confusing for most people because of the statistics. But also it's because sex has been presented to us as a male-dominated act, where it's about a man dominating a woman. So when a woman uses this same thing to dominate a man, we can't imagine that.
Yeah.
So that's why the outburst is there. And again, living in a heavily patriarchal society where systems of power are being governed by men, our homes are being mostly governed by men, or are idealized as being governed by men. Sex is also being governed by men here. So, men cannot imagine that such a thing can be used against one of them or even themselves.
Exactly. And Njeri, you are very vocal about Vesh Velvin. First, thank you so much for your post, because after you posted that on Usikimye, it started a movement and people were so upset. But the fact that some people are now saying that she deserved what she got, it's disturbing.
That tells you how people look at sex. And the fact that people, let me just put it this way, the fact that people look to blame her because they're looking at her like she was loose, which she's not. The hypocrisy in this nation is we pretend we don't have sex. That's the thing. We're a hypocritical nation of people. I don't even know how we are 50 million when we all pretend we don't have sex. This is the problem we have. The thing is, in an ideal situation, none of us met our significant others. They were strangers to us. You are a stranger to somebody and you went on a date. That's ideally what Vesh did. She met a man at her line of work and the man told her, I'd like to have a few drinks with you, which is what happens. You are in the office, a stranger walks in, he likes you, he gives you his card, he tells you, can we meet for drinks? So whatever happened, just because Vesh was a waitress, does not mean that she was in the line of sex work. And even then, sex work is work. It is work. So we need to start also talking about things that are actually true. So now, Vesh meets this man. and they said that we are going for drinks. So they went for drinks. They left her place of work. They went for drinks. They had drinks, as you could see on her pictures. And she thought this is a good man because he had been frequenting her place of work. So he thought this is a good man, or whatever you think when you're going out on a date. How many of us go out on dates and then we come and find out he's not a good man after the date or after something has happened? So in this instance, she went on a date. And when she went on a date, they agreed to have sex, which is normal. When a man and a woman meet and you have an agreement to have sex, it is okay. Up until this point, things were okay. So they went into the hotel and they checked in and they went to their room together. Now, from the post-mortem, it says, one, Vesh was drugged.
Yes.
Let us be very clear. So at that point, there is no consent.
Yes.
When you are drugged or you're drunk, there is no consent. Consent has been withdrawn because you're not in your normal or right state of mind. So you cannot take a drunk girl home and then you have sex with her and you say that you raped her. Let me be very clear about that. So she was drugged. What she did not consent to was being raped, being violated, and being killed. None of that. Yes, she had sex. So what? People have sex. And that's how we have children. And that is how we also, sex is a pleasurable, activities when it is consented to.
Yeah.
But when there is no consent, and not only that, she was raped, her cervical broke. I don't even understand. How do you even start breaking people's cervical bones?
Yeah.
That means it was extremely rough, really bad. And possibly, if it is looked at properly, maybe even other things were used. Because I highly doubt that a penis can break a cervical bone. And then on top of it, her spine was broken. And then she was unconscious. Right? So how do you then come back and blame a person who is already dead? And we saw this blame, if you actually remember, the man who left Thika
to go
and all the way to Eldoret for Ivy Wangeshi. I will never forget, because Ivy Wangeshi was trolled, even in death. She was trolled. This girl was a doctor. So it doesn't even mean about profession. It's always about the fact that we assume, and I'm seeing a lot of people saying, oh, you know, she saw the guy with a car. This is a girl whose mother is a banker. Do you actually think a car excites her? This is a girl whose mother was okay, well off. She was not a girl who had grown up in, or whatever you want to say, poverty. So a car was nothing to excite her. So this is a thing that we want to say. If you call me on a date, I don't owe you sex. Let's start from there. That's part of rape culture. Yeah. I don't owe you anything. You wanted to see me. Me and you, Lynn, we can go for lunch.
Yes.
And we eat and I pay. Does that mean I owe you anything? Exactly. Why is it that when a man and a woman go out on a date, and then now the man start feeling like he's obliged to be owed for sex? You're not owed anything. It was a date. You wanted to see somebody. You spent money on that person. You didn't spend money. You ate lunch. That was company.
Yeah.
You had a good time. That was company. If we agreed to have sex after that, that's a different thing altogether. And we need to stop putting these things together. One has nothing to do with the other.
Exactly. And Onyango, you also added your voice on Twitter when it came to this matter. And let me ask you, when you hear people saying that, why was she with a man in a lodging? Why did the man not take her to his place? How cheap is she to go sleep with a man in a lodging? How can you sleep with a man and you've not told your friends who this man is? What are your thoughts on that?
If I was to get a little deeper into this.
Yes.
Rape culture does not exist in a vacuum. Okay. There's a way men are socialized to see women from such a young age. And we grew up with this God complex that men are supposed to be higher than women. It starts from such a young age. It's indoctrinated into us, you know, with the different socializations that, you know, we find in our environment, right? So, for example, if your first idea of God, it takes the shape of a man, the people who take leadership around you take the shape of men. The people who manage resources around you take the shape of men. The people who commit the most crimes take the shape of men. The people who are most violent around you also take the shape of men. If you're a boy, and this is what you're witnessing, Nobody has to tell you, because kids learn from what they see. We tell kids all number of things, but our brains are simulation machines. You learn from what you see. Even this rape culture today, one of the reasons why we still keep hearing these stories is because the perpetrators keep going free. Yeah, because these men know nothing will happen to me, so I'll just get on with my life. Whether I have a family or not, nothing is going to happen to me. So the fact that also we as guys have friends whom we know have been violating women, but we keep quiet about it, they know nothing is going to happen to them. So that culture of impunity is also very structured, not only in our political structures, but also in our social fabric. That's what perpetuates the rape culture, you know. So that God complex that, first of all, I am above a woman.
Yes.
That is everything. Because if I thought that you were above me, it would be so hard for me to violate you. Because even like, if you look at down, poor men also violate poor women. But poor women barely violate poor men. You get? So it's always about that. You're a woman. You're supposed to be below me. If I use my money on you, you owe me your body. You get? So that entitlement starts from such a young age, and it is connected to so many other things. So even when we speak about rape, we have to be cognizant of the other facets of the patriarchy and male domination that our society lives in. So it just adds onto this piece, you know, of gender and sexual violence.
Yes, yeah. The fact that women are also blaming Vesh in this case, how does that make you feel? The fact that we even have women saying, mbona like msichana asivae aje, mbona unavaa hivyo ka utaki kurepiwa. Kwanza, should what I wear, does it mean if I wear a certain way, I've given you authority over my body?
You know, it's funny that we are back to the fact that we are talking about dressing.
Yes.
I made a post one time, and I said, the lady was wearing a miniskirt. She said, could it be my fault that I got raped because I was dressed like this? But the lady in the hijab said, I got raped too. The baby the baby in diapers in the corner couldn't even talk. What does that tell you? Rape is not an act of dressing. Rape is not perpetuated by dressing. How you dress? No. Rape is an act of power. It's an act of dominance. It's an act of aggression. It's violence. It has nothing to do with how you're dressed. You know, otherwise tungekuwa tukisianga kwa Inange Street wasichana wote wamerepiwa leo because, you know, they were wearing in a certain way to attract their customers. So it has nothing to do with that. Yesterday, I don't know whether you saw a trending video of this old man in Malindi who raped a 6-year-old under the stairs, and he had positioned her. What did that child do exactly to deserve to be raped by such a man? Do you understand?
Yes.
So rape has nothing to do with the person who is being raped, with the victim. Rape has everything to do with the person who is the rapist. Rape, what is the cause of rape? It's the rapist, never the person who has been raped. And we need to get that clear in our mind. We cannot start telling people, every woman you know, and I'm going to say this, to even the women who are out here blaming Vesh and saying, oh, she asked for it, why did she go to a lodging with this man? Didn't she know he was married? I've not even heard you have words for the man who knew that he was going around breaking his vows to the woman he promised to because he left Vesh in the hotel and went back to his wife.
But they will say men in Kenya are polygamous in nature.
Because it's only men in Kenya who are polygamous in nature. Let me tell you, Lynn, I was arguing with a friend. And I told him, your president is bad. He's Ugandan. Do you know what he told me? And that thing is eating me till today. He told me, our president may be bad, but we don't rape women like Kenyans do. And I didn't have anything to say.
So even outside we are known.
Yes.
We have a reputation.
A very bad reputation. People say do not go with Kenyan men, and I don't blame them. I have a Burundian refugee who is a victim. She's been beaten. She has broken ribs and left with 2 children, and the man ran away. I have a Rwandese. I have so many people in this country who can attest about our men, and it's a shame. It's a shame. that in Kenya, we are in the top 10 leading countries in the world with very high SGBV cases. Can you imagine? Can you imagine when statistically we are ruko juu, we are not doing well? So again back to the question of the fact that we are blaming.
Yes.
One of these things comes from religious, because we preach a purity culture. We don't obey it, but we preach a purity culture. We have a lot of purity culture. A girl should be pure. If a girl has sex, she is she's loose. She's been ameharibika, and all these things. You know, we have this culture that we keep on telling our daughters. And in order for a rape culture to thrive, what do we tell our sons though? What do we tell our sons? We teach women not to be raped, but we don't teach men not to rape women. So if you're teaching one demographic, when you tell me it is how I was dressed that made me get raped, but you don't tell the rapists, the people who rape, this is how you should be doing. Even when women rape, look at them. They're in a position of power over the person that they rape. If it is that little boy at home that they start touching and making and, you know, initiating them into sex, it is always about the person is in power. Always look at how the victim is. Who is the victim and who is the aggressor.
Yes.
The rapist always has power over her. In this case, even for Vesh, she went with somebody she thought this is a good person. They went and they were supposed to have a good time. This person had the money to pay for the hotel. So who has the power? Always look at the dynamics of the power.
The man.
So you cannot tell the person it is how you are dressed or you went into a lodging. Kwani lodgings were made for what? We wouldn't have lodgings then. Lodgings were made for pleasure. It's because people go into those lodgings to sleep or to have sex. So it is hypocritical of us to say alikuwa ameenda kufanya lodging nini? Kwani lodgings inafanyanga nini? And if they were not being used, would they be open?
No.
You know, so we need to stop being these people who come up with reasons. It's like, you know, this thing that ati ukitoa msichana ushago, unaoa msichana ushago juu unaogopa au wasichana wa Nairobi wameharibika. But wasichana wa ushago na wavulana ushago, they have sex not in lodgings, uko kwa mahindi. So we are a nation of hypocrites.
Yes.
You know, and we need to examine why we are so hypocritical about sex. We need to examine what is our relationship with sex. And why do we have a problem with it? Look at our neighbors. Uganda, they have sengas that teach you how to enjoy sex. And they enjoy sex. No wonder they do not, rape is not a thing there. And if it is, it's very minimal. Because for them, sex is not a taboo. It is something they talk about. It is public. It is open. They enjoy it. They love it. When you go to Tanzania, the same. They have kitchen parties. Women are taught how to, you know, the full spectrum of pleasure. But we don't. We have such a hypocritical reaction towards sex. And this is what also perpetuates the rape culture. Because I want to take. Is she ripe for taking? I want her. You know, a man who has a wife at home, why would he be looking at another girl? But yet we are not criticizing the man that broke the vows. We are talking about the girl who maybe didn't even know this man was married. And anyway, the girl had no business protecting his marriage. It is your business as the person in the marriage to make sure. And to say that men are polygamous by nature, what is that? Even who said women are not polygamous, polyandrous or whatever it is. But that's not the point. The point is, I took a vow with you. I should protect my marriage. That's it.
That's it.
The wife and the husband. The other parties involved have nothing to do with it. And if you know very well, you do not want to zip up. Okay? We also have diseases that you can take back to your wife. If you know you don't want to zip up, then don't get married. Okay? Don't get married.
Don't get married.
Simple. Or tell your wife, I'm married to you, but you know, occasionally, nitakuwa nikienda nje. So you're protecting your wife. But we don't do that. And we don't talk about that. Because again, we don't want to talk about sex.
Onyango, before we go to the part where are we failing because we don't talk about sex to our kids, from a man's perspective, how should I dress so that you don't rape me?
You should dress the way you want. I should not rape you because you're not supposed to be raped. It's just that simple.
Period. Say that again.
Yeah, I shouldn't rape you because you're not supposed to be raped.
Exactly.
It does not matter where you are, how you're dressed, whether you're drunk or not, what time of the day you're walking outside. There's the Ministry of Health, actually. I want to get back to that Ugandan thing. Last year, when we went into lockdown, the Ministry of Health stated that between mid-March and June, just mid-March and June, there were 5,000 rape cases reported. Just mid-March and June, And this is the time like lockdown was starting to when it is now like, oh, we are frustrated, we are inside and everything. Yeah? And 70% of the victims and survivors they were girls who are 18 years and below. 70% of 5,000 between mid-March and June. And that number was a 7% increase from 2019 around the same time. Between mid-March and June 2019, it was a 7% increase. We haven't even spoken about what was happening in 2019 around the same period. Only 5%, which I still suspect is underreported, of that number were boys and men who were violated. But 95% of the perpetrators were male, okay? So now the interesting thing, because these were all bundled up in SGBV issues, the Ugandan Ministry of Health reported the number as 6,000, you know, and it was a global pandemic, really, like globally, like gender-based violence shot up. And again, the numbers of perpetrators were men again, you know. So I don't think there's anywhere in this world a woman is safe, you know. It's just horrific even to say. There's nowhere in this world that a woman feels safe unless she's mostly with other women or children around them, you know. And for me, for guys to show up and say, you know, alikuwa anajitakia, alikuwa anajitafutia, oh nini nini, none of us is asking, why is there rape happening? You know, none of us is asking what pushed this man to want to like take this person's body by force. That is where the conversation should be.
Yes.
The conversation should not be ati unajua siku hizi wanawake wanapenda vitu za bure. And I ask men, sisi wenyewe wangapi wetu tunapenda pombe ya bure?
Wengi.
Wangapi wetu tunakunywa hiyo pombe ya bure?
Wengi.
Do the men who buy us those pombes beat us? No. Do they kill us because we said no to something? Do they batter our bodies? You know,
do they rape you?
Do they rape us? You know, so the other thing is that socialization from childhood about how boys are supposed to be and how women as girls are supposed to be. We grow up socialized to think that women are supposed to do emotional labor on our behalf. Okay, they're supposed to nurture, caregiving, take care of the children, take care of us when you go back home and stuff. So there is that entitlement that starts from such a young age, you know. But even further, because of capitalism and because of how the economies of the world have been created by the powers that be, you know, a lot of men's bodies start being abused through labor, through hard labor, from a very young age. It's almost like you are created for hard labor, okay? So you are living with that pain. And because you do not know how to process that pain, and with the entitlement that a woman is there to serve you, you actually feel that if she doesn't offer you sex in what is supposed to be normal circumstances, you're going to take it by force, okay? So even the bigger fight is about social justice. All right, the bigger, because right now, why did gender-based violence cases go up? In most households where men think they're supposed to be providers, they lost jobs. Okay, now they are at home. Now they are frustrated, they don't know what to do. Every single thing, small thing in the house, vita. So now, what if we had a gender-balanced workplace, a gender-balanced society where both men and women were paid the same for the kind of work they do, and that whatever a man or a woman wanted to do, they didn't have to be discriminated by the fact, the virtue of their gender.
Yes.
You know, we wouldn't be having these cases, I presume. Okay, so we have to be honest as boys, as men. We have to be honest that the way we were brought up was not sustainable for the kind of future and the reality in the present we want to live in. Okay, we were actually taught to hate women. That's just it.
That's just it.
I remember, like, for me, I also grew up in a violent home, And my dad didn't like the fact that I was close to my mom. And you see, my mom used to teach me the smallest things, how to tie my shoelaces, she'd like, teach me how to wear clothes, how to be neat and all those things. It was almost natural that I'll be close to him. But dad was nearly violent all the time. I didn't want to be near violent people. But you see what my dad would say? Oh, wanawake wewe. Wanataka kukua kama mama yako, wewe ni mjinga, like just so many derogative words that were supposed to indoctrinate me to hate women, to hate his wife, to hate my mother.
Yeah.
And so that's what men keep carrying around. They do have mothers they claim to love, but they actually do not love them.
They do not love them.
It's not love.
Yeah. Njeri, has our justice system failed the rape victims?
Yes. First of all, I was asking why we don't have court, just a special court, just for us, for gender. Because it's a lot of crimes rotate around gender, sexual and gender-based violence. And I was told it would take an act of parliament for you to have a court. Because like that, we have land and environment courts that deal with matters of land. We have children courts that deal with matter of children in custody. We have, but we don't have anything that deals with this. Yet this is an actual bigger pandemic than even corona. Our case goes into the same court that regular murderers go, thieves, robbers, you name it, corruption, whatever. We are in the same court. How long do you think it takes before a case is heard and determined? Do we take care of the trauma? No. Now, we are talking about, forget about the courts. Let's even just go down to basic reporting. Even when they reported 5,000, and I'm glad they actually put 5,000 reported cases, because most people, if it's 5,000, I would beg to say it is 15,000.
Yes.
Most people don't report. One, because we've made rape is an act that people consider is shameful. So if I'm raped, I don't say. I don't even seek medical help. I don't seek for medical advice. So most rape cases go underreported. When a child is raped, most time they're told, do not tell anyone.
Or I'll kill you.
Or I'll kill you, or I'll kill your mother. Something. So most children don't say. Okay? Men, when they get raped, and men get raped, and not just by women. Majority of the men that get raped by fellow men. They don't say. They don't report, they don't talk about it. I've handled a few cases of men who have been raped, and they don't even want to go and report because they're ashamed. Okay? So there is a lot of, from just there, then now you go to the police who don't even know how to handle you as a rape person. If you go to gender desks, to the places that have gender desks, they're already overwhelmed. That is how bad these cases are.
And they keep asking you to repeat the experience.
And now, this person, I remember there's a lady I took to a police station, and we were there, and it was during this time of corona. So now, so people, one person is here, one person is here, one person is here. So I am trying to tell the police to whisper slowly because the gender desk was not open. Because the gender desk person has to go to court, has to do other things and follow up. And so sometimes the gender desk haina mtu. So you have to go and report to the main police. And that policeman was shouting, wewe umerepiwa, kuja. And I felt it all the way to my toes. I was so embarrassed, and I don't know why I was embarrassed. I suffered second-hand embarrassment. You can imagine how she was feeling, because everybody was standing and looking, ni nani amerepiwa, So just look at her. Just from there, how do we handle this person? And then this person is going to talk to an insensitive policeman who doesn't have the training to handle this person. Ulirepiwa wapi? Ulikuwa wapi? And he's shouting. And this person doesn't want any other person to know. Ulikuwa wapi? Ulikuwa and just there is the place where the person turns away and never comes back. So the case doesn't even get to court. You go to hospital. Again, I'll give you an example of a case I handled. This girl was a lawyer in training. So she went to the first hospital. She knows how to do when you've been raped. And the nurse at the public hospital told her, wewe, ulikuwa unaenda wapi saa 11 asubuhi? And do you know she went home? She did not, she was so angry. And when she went to the police station, they told her, au kama haukuwaona na huwajui, sasa sisi tutakusaidiaje? Because she was waylaid on the bridge and they raped her there by men she doesn't know. But you see, she needs to report to the police so that the police can put a patrol there and possibly arrest this man before they rape another woman. If you go to the police and the police tells you, they literally told her, come wali waona, endo walete. And she told me, I'm a lawyer. Njeri, I'm a lawyer. But at that moment, I was a victim and I didn't know what to do. I know all the process. I know how to take myself to hospital. I know all these things. But at that moment, I was a victim and I didn't report. That is a lawyer. What about Mama Mboga? What about that person that has no awareness? The one Mama Fua? Will they go? Already police to you is an intimidating force. So how does justice work when at the very basic core of justice, you can't report? Now you report. Higher. You take yourself to hospital. You've already been violated. Nobody's taking you to hospital in case you think the police will take you to hospital. I'm sorry. The police are already overwhelmed by already the crime rate in this country. So you take yourself to hospital. You don't even know which hospital you need to go to. And most people go to private hospitals because they want to, again, to avoid the stigma and the embarrassment of being raped. So when they go to private hospitals cannot give testimony in court. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
For real?
Yes. Not for rape. Not for rape. I'm sorry. Not for rape.
Wow.
So you need to go to a GVRC center. How many people know that your public hospitals has a GVRC center?
I don't even.
Exactly. So you need to go to a public hospital or go to a hospital that is recognized that it has a GVRC center. Because they have something called a PRC form, that is a post-rape care form that is recognized by the government as evidence. Private hospitals don't have it. So that document that they will give you that you are raped does not stand in a court of law. Most people don't know these things. So where is justice?
Yes.
Are you seeing how justice is already not being served by the time you're going? You need to get a medical certificate that now clearly states, and a doctor who will come to court to testify. So I'm trying to tell you the hurdles that you have to jump higher. Most people, when they get raped, the first instinct is to do what?
To go take a shower.
Thank you. So when you take a shower, is there any evidence?
No, zero.
Thank you. And that is how your rape case doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
There's no DNA, there's no evidence.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then remember, the only place that takes DNA is a government chemist. We only have one DNA lab in this country that is recognized by the government. I mean, in terms of rape, it's the government chemist. May I remind you that the government chemist, we don't have a police lab that works with DNA. So, say somebody has been raped in Turkana. They send the clothes. Where do they go? I've been raped in Huruma. Where do the clothes go? How is rape a priority in this country?
No.
So by the time they are coming to these things, do you think the evidence hasn't eroded? So I'm just trying to show you from down here how hard it is to prosecute rape. All right? Now, by chance, we have all the details right. We went to hospital, we went to the police, we got the P3, now we are in court. So the first time the person gets plea, are you aware that rape is pleable, that you will get bail? Depending on the extent of the violation or the age of the person that you violated, that is how the bond works. So say you rape me, utatoka tu na 50,000.
Na tuonane kwa hizo
streets. So already umetoka. Then now we are going to court. Our courts are adversarial courts. It means, what I mean by that is, I need to sit here and face my attacker. That is how it works. Because that is how it is in our constitution. You need to look at your attacker, the person who violated you, and now speak. God. Are you seeing the re-traumatization that you need to enact in court?
I have to face the person who raped me in a court of law and still go back and say exactly what they did to me while facing them.
And you know he's allowed to ask you questions. Need I remind you, this also happens to children. It's not that children are taken somewhere else, it's just that people are removed from court. Or you didn't know that?
No, I did not.
Yes. So a child stands there and faces the person that violated them. Sometimes the person is their father, their brother,
their uncle.
Actually, most times it's
The family
relational.
member.
People
Yes.
they knew.
Always,
Yeah.
children are never raped by strangers. Let me just be very. It's 1%. It's 90% of the time a child is raped by people they know, a relative most of the time, a neighbor, a family friend. This child needs to stand there and look at that person in the eye, because that's how our court works, and talk.
Yes.
And do you know what happens? They freeze. Those are children. Do you know what happens when you're a woman who's been violated and you're looking at your rapist in the eye? You freeze.
You freeze.
And that is how you lose. Because you can't even talk. And this is a country that doesn't even recognize therapy.
And
So,
mental health.
tell me, and then it takes 3 to 4 years
Wow.
for this case to be heard and to be determined.
You just schooled us on a lot of things. A lot of things. Wow. You've had, mi sikuwa najua zingine. What should we start doing right?
You know, as a small extension to the frustration of the systemic barriers for getting justice for gender-based violence, for rape, there's a guy who reached out to me because I talked to a lot of boys who were violated. Most of them were violated when they were teenage boys. But there's a guy who reached out to my DM, and he told me he was sodomized by people he knew, his friends, and they robbed him, yeah. And because he knew if he reported this thing, these guys will go free, yeah.
They'll kill him.
He looked for money. Lynn, he hired goons to go kill those guys. And he was telling me he knows they won't repeat that thing to another person because they are rotting in their graves.
God.
That is how deep these issues are. You know, maze, mi ucheki wasewa na joke about this thing on social media, so removed from the experiences of people's realities. I'm like, you guys, you don't know what you're saying. You guys, you don't know what you're saying. If you actually just process a bunch of guys, because even gang rape is such a thing in this country.
Yes.
Oh, I've not even touched on gang rape.
Hiyo hata usijui ukianza unaanzia wapi. You know, and we just come out like, ulikuwa wapi? Ni saa ngapi ulikuwa unafanya nini hapo?
Ulikuwa umevaa hivyo kwa nini?
Ati ulikuwa umelewa ati sijui nini. My friend.
Thieves break into your house in this country and rape you. Sasa hiyo nayo watasema ulikuwa umevaa nini? You can be raped at any time, at any point in this country. At any point. And it's not about ulikuwa umevaa wapi. And it's frustrating when I see people online talking about this, because rape, you see, we don't really look at rape as a crime. That's the problem. We just don't see rape because it's sex. So we think that in the back of our minds, I'm going to tell you the truth, Lynn, and that is why people do not think rape is such a big deal. It's because we look at it as maybe they actually had felt good. That is one of the problems. Because if you did not think like that, it is such a personal violation.
It's undignified.
It is so violent to your person. And that is why people don't look at it. Imagine if you are beaten today, people will feel more empathy for you. If you are robbed today, people will have much more, oh my God, Ali, people, wamemnyang'anya chain. People will even chase that thief down, you know, and beat them up. But you are raped. I mean, did you ever see that video of this woman who was going to buy things for her soko and Chokora raped her, and somebody stood there and recorded it and put it online? I've never been so disappointed. And if you remember, the people around her told her, una enjoy, si unasikia vizuri. And I don't know whether you understand how violated that woman was feeling. Rape is not pleasurable. It is not enjoyable. It is disgusting.
And it's painful.
And then these people live with that trauma for the rest of their life. Now, I'll give you a good example of somebody who was raped by their uncle in childhood. And she got married. And when she got married, she couldn't just live with her husband. No. Every time the husband tried, all she could see was what happened to her when she was 9. And that marriage couldn't work because the husband wants to make love to the wife. And he doesn't understand why the wife closes up. You see, because she has memories and trauma.
Yeah.
And people think that because you were raped, it's you know, it's over.
Yeah.
It's not something that traumatizes you. But this is something you live with. And probably the guy who confessed to him about killing his rapists did it because he needed to tell somebody and get it off his chest. And there's nothing you can do.
When such people come to you, what do you say?
What do I say? I listen. I just listen. What I realized, most people are just looking for an entry point. They're looking for somebody to believe them because they are not believed in the places they come from. Now, identifying as a man, you come out and say that you're a guy who was raped. What are you talking about? How? Who are you to even think that that can happen to you? And that's your reality. Somebody is questioning your reality. You know, it's so absurd. So a lot of people, and I've seen how so many boys fear talking about it because they're like, hey, can I talk to my mom? Can I talk to my dad? Can I talk to my boys? Who will understand, you know? So because I have told and retold my story, when they come across this, they're like, you seem like someone I can trust, and most of them just want to pour something out, just pour it out. And then of course now I work with partner mental health organizations where now we could connect them to psychiatrists and therapists, but it's incredibly difficult because a lot of times these people cannot also sustain themselves economically. There was a guy in Njeri referred to me, and this man was doing this kazi mtaani, what is it called? Kazi kwa vijana thing. And this guy was raped, I think, by somebody who had promised him a job or something, you know? And you know, this guy told me his rent is 1,000 bob. He's 31 years old. His rent is 1,000 bob. You know, sometimes you hear stories, you look at yourself and you're like, hey, where do you start? He doesn't have a job. He doesn't know what to do. He has to take this medicine. He had all these things going on in his mind. He even feared his neighbors because he was like, am I safe? And he'd call me all the time. I think these guys are acting funny. Am I safe? Am I safe? Because the trauma plays on you in a way that you actually see yourself, these things are happening again to you. You know, because our brains are just something else, you know? So people want to be listened. And this country, you know, from such a young age, a lot of us grew up in very repressive homes. We didn't have the freedom of speech in our homes. We were very repressed, okay? So we are all traumatized from our own upbringings first, okay? In a way that holding space and listening to one another, we don't have that mechanism. Just as a people, we do not have it, okay? So when it comes to abuse, it's worse because of all that, what is sex, indoctrination, socialization, all those things. So already you do not know the skill of listening. You don't have it, all right? So from such a young age, you are dehumanized in that way. Like nobody gave you a space. Your parents told you when ni mtoto huwezi niambia kitu, huwezi fanya ujui anything. Yeah. When you grow up, you're also looking for that power. It's power. You're looking to repeat that power upon the people who are below you. So if you're a parent, you repeat to your children what your parents did to you, okay? If you're a man, you repeat to your wife and children what your father and, you know, people around you did to you. It's trauma. All of it is trauma. So I think we are getting to a point where, and I see how people are so mad that, feminists complain about very simple things. Everything they think is just about complaining. I say, until we get to a point where violation is taken seriously, people should not sleep in this country. People should not sleep in this country. Until we find a way when something hard has happened, something painful has happened, we listen. Until we get there, and that is just bare minimum. nobody should sleep. Everybody should be up in arms. We should talk everywhere on social media
and make a lot of noise
until we learn to listen to one another. Because that silence, people imagine that if you keep quiet, you're actually okay, you're good.
No.
Okay? And that silence is also a weapon because it's meant to make the violator escape. Nothing will happen to them. The law won't know of them. Also, the law also, from what she explains, makes it very difficult for this perpetrator to really be touched, for their life to change. All right? So this noise, this is what will save us. Let us keep making it.
What do you say?
You see me, because I live this reality, I give my examples and stories. And I just want to show you how silence fails us as a society. Because this thing hurts my spirit still today. I have a boy. He was 8. He's 9 now. And this boy, in the course, unajua Corona happened.
Yes.
So when Corona happened, kids are no longer sitting at home. They want to go out and play. And they want to go out and enjoy themselves. So let me call my boy T. So T would go out there. Near where he lives, there's a swamp. You know? And kids wanendanga Dufumpararo to swim and enjoy and relax themselves. Now, there's a man there where they live. And this man told them they have to give up. This is a boy. So every time T would go to swim, this man would abuse him. He would molest him, would sodomize him, really. And he did it for so long that the boy got sexualized. And he didn't tell anyone. How did the mother find out? He tried the same. See what I'm talking about, power? He held his 5-year-old sister and sodomized her. I want to tell you how silence doesn't work and how we cannot be complicit to abuse. So the mother found out about the girl and took both the girl and the boy to hospital. And she thought it is okay, it's been resolved. But remember, the man, the perpetrator, is still there and no one has touched him. And I don't think he has only been raping T, he's been raping a lot of boys. Then, 4 months down the line, in this year, December, T tried to rape his 9-month-old sister because he wants to do the same thing he sees being done to him. Because his power has been taken away from him. I have tried to report this case. I have tried to get help because they are poor, they are powerless. And nothing has ever been done. I've taken this boy to hospital more than 5 times. But every time he runs away and he goes out there to that man. He's 9. But because the mechanisms of reporting these cases are not there, these people have never been arrested. And this boy is out here, and the mother wants to just kill herself. I just want to tell you that case is so personal to me. I talk about it so much because I feel like we owe T justice. Forget about the people I feel he has violated. We have failed this boy himself. Every time I wake up every day, and I'm sorry. And I think about him. And I think about the fact that the mother wants to kill this boy. And I cannot remove this boy from his home because in Kenya it is child trafficking. And I've reported it to relevant authorities and there is nothing I can do. And this woman texts me every day and ananiambia, Mama Aline, nisaidie. And I'm not able to help him. This is what your silence, and when you shame people and when you abuse people, you are complicit in doing things like this. Because nobody takes these things seriously. And now they are killing our children. And I don't know what else to say. All I'm saying is when you point fingers, when you minimize somebody's experience and you minimize it too, and you ridicule their lived-in experience, you cannot tell me how to feel when I'm the one who has been violated. It goes down all the way to children, because perpetrators know you protect them. We protect our husbands who rape our children. We protect our fathers who rape their grandchildren. We protect rapists, but we don't care enough for the people who are raped. Because if you cared enough, you would know that today Vesh is 24, she's dead. She was the only child to her mother. That mother has lost her child. And the pain of a parent who loses a child is so great that no one knows what to call a parent that loses a child. There is a widow, there is a widower, there is an orphan. But a parent who loses their child, they have no name. Today, Mama Vesh has no Vesh. But you want to point fingers at how Vesh died, but Vesh is dead. And her death should not go unanswered.
Should not.
Should not go unanswered.
Should not.
We need to stop protecting rapists. We need to stop protecting perpetrators. We need to come up in arms as a nation. Maybe if we do, then we can be able to call out corruption. Maybe if we do, you see, the thing in this nation is we are so powerless that we remove our anger at the wrong people. Vesh is just a victim of how angry we are as a society. That we are so powerless. So if we make Vesh a villain in her own killing, then maybe then we will feel some sort of power. Because we are powerless. And that is it for me. We are so powerless. And we need to rise up and stand up. If we start calling out perpetrators by their names and not stop being afraid, maybe even for other bigger things, we'll be able to get our power back.
We will.
Yeah.
Thank you. Onyango, what would be your parting shot to our audience?
I would say speaking up freed me in unimaginable ways. I talk about gender-based violence a lot, and I've had even family members reaching out to me saying, you're shaming your dad because of, I talk about what happened and it's my story. But what I've come to learn as well is when you speak up, it's the first step to get your power back, because when you believe what happens to you really happens to you, and you believe in it, and no matter how much people, I think I'm a bit lucky because I had a very tenacious mom, and all that courage I got was from watching her do the things the way she did. For so many other survivors, that energy is not there. That mechanism is not there. I have good friends. I have friends who show up for me in unimaginable ways. Most people don't have that, And that's why I think, especially this generation, we have the one opportunity to change this reality. We have the information, we have the energy. We can also take that power back. And I'm especially calling upon the men. This country hurts us a lot. But what we do is we hurt people who we think are supposed to be below us. That should stop, okay? We need to take a keen look at ourselves and ask, are we happy at how this country is? If we are not, what are we really unhappy about? Then where are we channeling that anger for the things we are unhappy about? Because if we keep continuing lashing out at the wrong people, we are also continuing being unhappy, okay? We have to stop looking at the symptoms. We have to go deep down to the root. Even during post-election violence, it's funny, we talk about the landless, which was there. We talk about the tribalism, which was there. We don't talk about the rape that happened. It's never talked about. Let me tell you, those stories were more. They were more. Like, I was doing some work around the same issues, and I had stories of people who were raped before their children, over and over by mobs and mobs of people, and they left. But all that was seen was a burnt house and dead people. We did not talk about the gender-based angle of 2007 post-election. And now that even makes me ask, so now what about 97? What about 92? You know, how are all those angles? Every clash, by the way, nearly every clash that happened in this country has a rape angle to it. It has a sexual gender-based violence to it. It's never talked about, never. Why? Because of what she's saying.
Yes.
We don't take it seriously. And who again are the most of the perpetrators? People who look like me, you know? So I told myself, I do not want to be complicit to that silence. It's not serving me, it's not serving people around me. And I don't do this just because I have a mother or I have a sister. Women are human beings.
Yes.
Human beings deserve human rights. Just the way I want to live in a free society, everybody outside my body deserves to live in a free society. I will fight with the oppressed, for the oppressed. I will stand by them and for them, regardless of whatever thing I'm told. Because, oh, you know, by the way, if you're a guy, most times, and you're speaking for women, you know what I am told? That I'm looking for sex. And this is actually globally, by the way. It's not just in Kenya, not in Africa alone. It's globally. When you stand up for women and you're a guy, that's what you're told. As if, again, sex is just that thing you find for favors. So we are twisted. It's crazy out there. And I'm telling guys, we think to be silent with these things, we are going to be safe from them. But it is the same thing that is connected to the corruption in this country, the same thing that is connected to extrajudicial killings, the same thing that is connected to police brutality. It is the same thing. So there is no way we can complain about police brutality and be quiet about rape. All of them are connected. All oppression is connected. So it's time to wake up.
It's time to wake up. Jerry.
As you said,
Yeah.
we need to rise up as a nation together. Online, I see a lot of men saying, oh, but you know, you're male bashing us. And yesterday I was so angry. I told somebody, imagine all you get is to be bashed.
Yeah.
That's it. And you can always close Facebook if you don't like it. But I don't want to walk in fear. When you ask many women, let me put this in perspective, is that every woman you know at one point has been in a dark place alone and scared. Why are we scared? Men are scared that when they walk somewhere, they can get killed. Women are scared that when they walk in a dark place, they will not just get killed. First, they will be violated. They'll be raped and then probably killed. No. So we have different fears. But these fears can be elevated by us. And unfortunately, this rape culture is going down to our children. Our children are not safe. We had a case of a 4-day-old baby violated. 4 days. If a 4-day-old baby is not safe, who is safe? Last week I was in Kirinyaga. A 92-year-old grandmother sexually violated. If a 92-year-old grandmother is not safe, do you think you are safe? Who is safe? We as a nation, we have to come together and act together and say no. No. Why is it that we cannot pass a law in Parliament that mandates if a rapist has been proven beyond any doubt, they be chemically castrated? Why? Why can't it pass? Why do we feel like that is violation of people? Yet the person has violated, they've gone away with something. Because when you are raped, something is taken away from you and you are never whole again. So we need to come together as a nation and start mending ourselves. And start asking ourselves the hard questions. Why is rape culture so dominant in our society? Why is it that we look at people who talk about it badly? Why are we so uncomfortable with sex? Maybe if we start from our children, we start teaching them comprehensive sexual education. And when I say this, that is not teaching your children pornography. Comprehensive sexual education is telling our children, this is your body, these are your private parts, this and this is what happens when boys and we talk to our children, we make them aware. If we create awareness so that a child starts knowing, if this person touches me like this, I go to my mom and I tell them, Uncle Goza, I know this is wrong. Even you can tell that person no. But we don't want to talk about it. Sex has become a taboo. We don't want to teach our children. We don't want to teach ourselves. So what is happening? We have rampant rape going around.
Yes.
And we need to come together as a nation and address this. We can no longer be silent.
Yes.
Silence is violence. When you're silent about it, you're just as violent as the person that did it.
All right.
Yes.
Where can people find you on social media? And is there phone contact details,
Yes.
maybe?
My name is Njeri Wamegwe. That's my personal profile. Follow me there on Facebook. I'm also on Twitter, not as active. I'm more active on Facebook. I'm trying to be active on Twitter. Njeri Wamegwe, both on Twitter and Facebook.
Yeah.
Usikimia. Usikimia is just as it is. Usikimia. Do not be quiet. We are also on Facebook, on Insta, on Twitter. Find us. Our telephone number is 0718-158-400. You can find us there. DM us. Talk to us.
Yeah.
We're ready to listen. We will guide you accordingly if you have cases and if you have issues.
All right.
Yeah.
Onyango?
Myself on Facebook, Onyango Otieno. Twitter is Rixpoet, Rixpoet, and Instagram, Rixpoet as well.
Yeah.
It's funny that actually I do get a lot of people reaching out, boys reaching out to me on Instagram because that's where they're mostly active. So yeah, if you have access or know any boy who's going through these issues, or you are the one who has been going through it, reach out to me.
Thank you so much, guys, for even taking time and coming and talking to us. And also, this is not an easy conversation for us to have, but it's time we started having these conversations on TV, on radio. I am so tired of watching left, right, and center conversations that do not even relate to our own people. We have to come out and we have to speak about these conversations. And I remember, for me, the takeaway in all this is you are not to blame. We should stop telling the rape victims that they are to blame. No matter how I dress, no matter how I walk, no matter how I talk, stop raping me. I just think people need to be told that it's not your fault. And I love what you said. Someone was raped because they were raped, period.
Yeah.
Period. Someone was raped because they were raped. Let's not give excuses as to why people are raping other people. I think that's just it.
The cause of rape is rapist.
It's rape itself. So let's not make excuses for people. Let's not degrade our girls and say, oh, alikuwa amevaa hivi kwa nini? Or our men ulirepiwa na wewe ni mwanaume. Let's just stop. My name is Lynn Ngugi. Thank you so much for watching.